Coming up, we continue our coverage of the day's events honoring Deputy William Petry, who was among the officers killed last week in Floyd County. And we talked to former WYMT reporters about their experiences working with Petry during his time with KSP Post 9.
And a stormy pattern continues as we head into the next couple of days with strong to severe thunderstorms possible at times. The very latest next at 6.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
A horse-drawn procession followed the funeral of Deputy William Petry this afternoon, despite severe weather in the area. We'll have more on Petry's funeral in just a moment, but first we want to go to WYMT's Keaton Hall, who was at the cemetery this afternoon covering that emotional part of the story. He's live now from the Mountain Arts Center with more. Keaton?
Thank you, Steve. Here at the MAC now, it was an emotional ride for all who took part today, and unfortunately, it's just the first in a week's worth of processions for those killed in Allen's shooting last Thursday. A procession for a hero who gave everything for his community.
You know, my heart's broken for all the families. These were fine people, and it's a hole that's going to be left in this community that'll be felt for decades.
Hundreds of police, EMS, fire, and other service vehicles guided Officer William Petry to his final resting place at Gethsemane Gardens. The first of 4 services this week, honoring the victims of the Allen shootout.
Going forward, if people would more appreciate their police officers. You know, I can remember the movement years ago when people began to thank military members for their service. See a military person out, you thank them. I think the same thing should be happening with police officers.
A community undoubtedly showing their appreciation today. And tomorrow we'll be taking the service of Officer Ralph Frazier live here at the MAC at 1 p.m. Steve.
Keaton, thank you very much. Well, many of our reporters met Deputy William Petry through his countless years at different police agencies in the Big Sandy. He retired from the Kentucky State Police post in Pikeville in 2020 after more than a decade there. WYMT's Dakota Makris talked with 3 reporters who knew him well from covering stories in the Big Sandy.
When I start my tour of duty, God, wherever crime may be, as I walk the darkened streets alone, let me be close to thee.
You may know Deputy William Petry from your TV screen. Former WYMT reporter Marianne Fletcher calls him the former voice of Kentucky State Police Post 9.
I talk to Petry probably every day of my life, if not every other day of my life. And if it wasn't just, hey, did you hear about this? Hey, what's going on here? It's, hey, how are you today?
Petry was always a text message or a phone call away.
I texted him and I said, hey, are you okay?
But he never replied.
I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't want to, I really didn't want to believe it.
And I can remember walking into both Prestonsburg Police Department or maybe doing a safety story with KSP and running into him, or maybe seeing him at Post 9. And I mean, he always had a smile on his face. He always seemed really interested.
Former WYMT reporter Angela Sparkman Evans says through the years they worked together, her favorite story to cover was Shop with a Cop.
The care that he took with those children and making sure that they got everything they wanted in the store, and just, you know, how he would work with them going through the store, the checkout line.
He loved his job because he was called to do it. It's a calling. Law enforcement isn't just a job, it's a calling. And he loved it with a passion.
Lord, if some dark and dreary night I must give my life, Lord, with your everlasting love, protect my children and my wife.
That was Dakota Makris reporting. The reporters we spoke with say the loss of the 3 officers and K-9 officer will always be felt throughout the Big Sandy. Now, Officer Ralph Frazier's funeral will be held tomorrow at 1 p.m. That will be followed by the funeral for Officer Jacob Chaffins on Thursday at 1 p.m. and K-9 Deputy Drago will be honored Friday at 6 p.m. All of those services will be held at the Mountain Arts Center in Prestonsburg. Additional information can be found on our website.
We are continuing to follow the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms, not just tonight, but into the next couple of days as well. We do have at least a little bit of a diminishing of our shower and thunderstorm chances as we head through tonight. However, we're not done yet. Outside at the moment from our Buffalo Mountain camera here in Perry County, the overcast continues as we continue to watch shower storms move past the region. You can see some of that wind still whipping out there. Pinpoint Doppler, well, as we head through the Big Sandy, we're going to continue to see some of that rain, at least light rain, moving through. Same thing into southwest Virginia. A heavy thunderstorm just moving south of downtown Harlan. A flash flood warning continues this evening for portions of Clay County into portions of Owsley and Laurel counties as well. That runs until 8:30 tonight, and we are still dealing with heavy rain out west of there near London over toward Corbin. Some heavy thunderstorms. None of this is severe. However, we are continuing to see the potential for some of that flash flooding right along the I-75 corridor as well. Those are moving south to southwest as we head through the evening. Our level 2 slight risk, that's been pushed out of the region. However, that level 1 marginal risk continues, and we're not done yet. We've got a little bit of development over Indiana and more thunderstorms well off to the northwest across the northern tier of the Plains states. I'll have the latest on what that means for us coming up in just a little bit. Steve?
Evan, thank you. We'll have more on Deputy William Petry's funeral in just a moment, but first we want to tell you about another situation that happened overnight that could have been a lot worse. Officers responded to a call at a home in Martin County last night and were fired upon. WYMT's Jordan Mullins was at that scene today and spoke to the Martin County Sheriff about what happened during last night's shootout.
Just after 11 p.m. on Monday night, Martin County Dispatch received the call that shots were fired in the Davila community. After a Martin County Sheriff's deputy had just gone off duty, dispatch called the Kentucky State Police.
She referred the call to the state police, and the state police responded to it. They had 2 troopers respond to it. Upon their arrival, the way I understand it, upon their arrival, they were fired upon.
Soon after, the troopers radioed for help, finding themselves in an active shooter situation, unable to pinpoint the gunman's location. Dispatch alerted several agencies across the region who responded shortly after.
When they say an active shooter, you actually never know how many. It being dark like that, you've got to try to guess where they're at. My dispatcher told me that they did not know the whereabouts of it. There were shots being fired.
No officers were injured during the shootout, but the suspect was shot and later died from his injuries.
It's never an easy decision. It's something that's always tough to do, but you have to do what's best for the people.
Sheriff Kirk said he is thankful his deputies and the other officers on the scene made it out safely.
You just don't know people. You think you know people, you don't know what the next man's thinking, you don't know what he's going through, you don't know what's on his mind.
And wants to thank the agencies and officers who responded so swiftly in the face of danger. In Martin County, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Sheriff Kirk says officers from several counties came to assist at the scene, including Pike, Floyd, and Johnson counties. As of now, officials are not releasing the name of the suspect who died in the shooting, and it is still under investigation by Kentucky State Police. Well, now back to Floyd County, where that community is coming together to remember the officers who gave it all to keep them safe during the first of 4 gatherings to honor the lives ended during last week's shooting in the Allen community. WYMT's Buddy Forbes now shares how the community remembered fallen Deputy William Petry during his funeral.
Lately I've been yearning for hope.
William Petry was so much more than one thing.
The only title William knew he was a servant.
a public servant.
The former policeman and retired Kentucky State Trooper turned Floyd County Sheriff's deputy and firefighter was always wearing many hats and sharing his passions.
Petry was hands down one of the best law enforcement officers that any of us had ever saw. All of us looked up to him. We idolized Petry.
But more than his devotion to community and care, Petry was known for the love and light he shared with those around him, from family to friends to everyone he met along the way.
So it's proper for us to take some time to hear just what his dash meant.
That dash, the time in between, devoted to a life full of service and stories.
He's been my lunch partner, my guy that I knew I wanted standing with me on every call daily. He knew that I had his back, and we knew that Petry had everybody's back.
Until Thursday, when he was killed in the line of duty.
But I never dreamed, for one, that I'd call him gone, but I knew that whenever he left, I'd call him a hero.
In his presence, and to hear.
And William Petry is a hero. He's my hero. I know he's everybody in our department's hero, our office. And I know he'll be your hero, and he will never be forgotten.
Because a light like Petry's will shine forever. In Floyd County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
As the community honors the fallen officers in Floyd County, we turn to the investigation into the deadly shooting. We know the officers were serving an emergency protection order, something deputies say can be a very dangerous part of their job since they often deal with strained relationships and intense emotions. The presence of law enforcement can sometimes serve to escalate the tensions further.
Typically when you're vacating the individual or child custody, of course, that's when individuals sometimes get heated.
People feel like, hey, maybe this person lied on me, or maybe you're taking that person's side.
Departments say they are reviewing the Floyd County situation to see what changes, if any, should be made to EPO procedures. The suspect, Lance Stortz, is being held on a $10 million bond and faces a list of charges, including murder of a police officer and attempted murder and assault of a service animal. A volunteer firefighter in Tennessee was killed Monday after being hit by a pickup truck. We're told the crash happened around 1 p.m. on Highway 33 South in New Tazewell. Of course, that's just not far from the Kentucky border. Fire officials told our sister station WVLT Roger Estes with the South Claiborne County Fire Department was killed while directing traffic at an Independence Day event. Tennessee Highway Patrol is investigating that crash. Back in Kentucky, in Madison County, a restaurant is closed after a fire. Firefighters were called out to the Golden Corral on Amberley Way in Richmond just before midnight. The owner of the restaurant said a cleaning company was doing work inside the building and saw the fire. No one was hurt. The restaurant is closed until repairs can be made and the health department approves its reopening. We'll be right back.